Amitabh Kant, it's actually very hard to think of you not being in government, but you've left, what, 4 months ago?
I left about a couple of months back.
And you were how many years in government?
Well, I was in government for about 45 years.
Is it like the only job you've ever had?
Yeah, that's the only job I've ever done in both
Yeah.
the state government of Kerala and
Yeah.
then later in government of India.
How does it feel to be out of government?
I feel pretty liberated.
Really? But you're very busy, right? Even now.
Yeah, I'm keeping far more busy than what I was in government. I'm quite active because I spend about 15 days of my time contributing to non-profit organizations like
Yeah.
on the climate side with CW, then Convergence Foundation of Ashish Dhawan on education, health literacy, then on economics with ICRIA. I'm Chancellor of NIIT University. So I spend 15 days doing pro bono work, and I spend 15 days advising some business entities.
So that's a lot of work, no, by any
that's
standards.
That's a lot.
I wanted to go back about you and talk a little bit about your career. You came to public attention because of Kerala tourism. I think people don't realize this, but none of us ever regarded Kerala as being this great tourist destination till you started it. Tell me how that happened.
So, Veer, I was a collector of a district called Calicut, which is now Kozhikode.
Right.
That is the place where Vasco da Gama had landed and discovered India.
Yeah.
And it was said that if Vasco da Gama was to come back, he'll find Calicut exactly as he had left it.
Really?
Till Amitabh Kant came and changed it. So I went and I broadened about 26 roads and expressways, and I created a bypass. And in the heart of town, there was a Mananchara Maidan, which was really the centerpiece where a lot of encroachments had come up. So I demolished about 450 encroachments.
That's a brave thing to do, no?
And I developed an airport there, widened and developed the airport from where people could go to all the Gulf countries. But, after about a year, government changed, and one of the persons whose hotel I demolished went on to become a minister. And I suffered enormously. For almost a year, I was without a job.
Really?
Yeah, I was without a job. So, and I thought that was the end of my career. But after a year, as a punishment posting, I was posted as Secretary Tourism because nobody wanted to work in the tourism sector. Nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination. And I took that opportunity to totally redevelop Kerala. The only product they had was the Kovalam beach, on which there was an ITDC property.
It was the one five-star hotel in India designed by Charles Courier.
That's right. That's right. And, on the beach, a lot of encroachments had come up and, low-value charters of garbage collectors and all from UK, etc. used to come.
Yeah.
So, I closed that beach for about a year. We cleaned it up, we developed it. But in the meanwhile, we opened up the backwaters. We got the houseboats, which were the traditional rice boats of Kerala.
That was you. I didn't realize that.
And the carpenters had gone away to Gulf country. We got them back, and they kind of innovated on that product. And then private entrepreneurship we provided impetus, because our view was, before me, actually Mr. S.K. Mishra had developed Haryana as a destination. But he developed it through government. And government opened up several properties. But after he left, all these properties went to the seed. So my objective was that tourism should be private sector driven, but government should provide the last mile connectivity. So the backwater, we allowed private sector to come up, but we provided last mile connectivity. We provided the jetty. We said you have, clean, absolutely renewable energy. You have clean chemical toilets, etc. We did all the branding in partnership with the private sector. But Kerala is a product of great private sector enterprise.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable product. The same private sector which had actually failed miserably in the industries because the climate was very different during that period, but it flourished in the tourism sector. So what it demonstrated was that if you just motivate and inspire private sector, they perform very well.
This God's own country stuff starts around then?
God's Own Country was started before that, but it had never been marketed. So we actually just brought it center stage, promoted it vigorously. We put it all over the world. We participated in international tourism fairs. We did a branding campaign, and then we got Santosh Shivan, who was a very good cinematographer, to do the first. The first state commercial was done by us, and that we put on CNN, BBC, all over, and that really put Kerala on the world map. But the remarkable thing was we got the editor of National Geographic to come in. We invited a lot of editors, and he put Kerala as one of the 10 exotic paradises of the world. And in his view, Kerala was gorgeous not for its natural beauty, but when you combine the backwaters, the hills, the wildlife, with a very high physical quality of life index. The Human Development Index is what enchanted him, and he said it's a remarkable destination for that.
Is that story true that Mr. Vajpayee, when he was Prime Minister, went to the backwaters for a New Year holiday, came across you and said, "We've got to get this man to the center"?
Yeah, it was really funny. Actually, I was sleeping at home on Sunday, and I got a call from his Principal Secretary, Mr. Brajesh Mishra. I didn't know him at all. And he said, you are the tourism secretary, so you take charge, you make all arrangements, but he doesn't want to meet any politicians, no panchayat leaders. You'll take care of him, and this will be like a holiday. So I identified Kumaragam, and he stayed there for almost about a week. And he wrote his Kerala musings, but he discovered the backwaters in Ayurveda. And every day I used to sit next to him for lunch. And one day, Mr. Mishra said that this boy has done very well in tourism, so we should get him to Government of India. Mr. Vajpayee looked at me and he said, have you applied किया Bharat Sarkar के लिए? Have you applied? So I said, no sir, मैंने तो नहीं किया. So he said, अच्छा किया, नहीं apply किया, बहुत अच्छा किया आपने नहीं apply किया. अगर apply करते तो ब्रजेश मिश्रा आपको tourism के बदले women and child welfare में भेज देते. So we laughed and finished off. I applied 1 year, 2 months later. I was to go to Finance Ministry, and when the file went to Mr. Brajesh Mishra, he called me up and he said, you recall that conversation, and you are not going to, do you know where you're going? So I said, sir, I believe I'm going to, the Civil Services Board has picked me up for finance. So he said, no, you're not going there, you're coming to Tourism Ministry. So I said, sir, there's no vacancy. So he said, don't worry about all that. Get ready to come to tourism. We'll create a vacancy. So they actually took someone out and posted me.
Really?
That's how I landed up there. And as soon as I landed up, the Twin Tower blast happened in New York. There was war in Afghanistan. There was attack on our parliament, and our tourism really slumped. So at that peak of that crisis, actually, we launched the Incredible India campaign.
The Incredible India campaign is still hailed all over the world as one of the best campaigns done by a country. What made you do it?
Well, so our hotel occupancy has slumped to just about 10%. We had very few hotels at that time. And we went to all tour operators across the world. And they said there's no demand for India. Even if you want to buy packages in our brochures, consumers will not go. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore had all stopped their marketing. At the peak of that crisis, we did a 360-degree campaign on televisions, on print, and on the net. The net had just started, and we launched it, and it brought consumer demand back, and that really led to tourism just growing and growing and growing. And then we realized that actually there was a shortage of planes, there was a lack of good infrastructure. So what you see now, the new Mumbai airport, the Delhi airport, Bangalore, Hyderabad airports, all came up as a consequence of that. And new airlines like Indigo, etc., took advantage of the demand which grew as a consequence of that.
And we sort of transformed the image of India globally and the tourism scene in
That's
India.
right. It was a marketing-led strategy which led to a great creation of demand.
And also you had the government helping with the infrastructure,
Absolutely.
which was the
Absolutely.
Kerala model in a sense, that
Absolutely.
you let the private sector do
Absolutely.
it, but the government was there to
Yeah,
help
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
But which brings us to the present day.
Yeah.
Surely tourism is one of our great missed opportunities, given that initial momentum.
So Prime Minister has been repeatedly talking about it. Actually, every occasion he realizes the significance and importance of tourism. I only wish the tourism ministry had done much more. You need to market India abroad very vigorously because we are on the verge of buying about 1,800 planes.
Yeah.
Now, 1,800 planes means we are already sending out about 30 million tourists abroad. You will become the biggest exporter of tourists from India to the rest of the world. We need to bring tourists to India.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. So you need to use this capacity India is creating to drive India's travel and tourism, which can then have a huge multiplier impact on job creation. More than the growth of tourism is the job creation, which is very critical.
That was actually going to be my next question, that tourism now to Indians means more Indians going abroad, discovering more destinations. They don't even spend holidays in India. Nearly everybody, people who wouldn't have dreamt of it earlier, now go abroad for holidays, which is a good thing. People should be able to explore the world. But surely we are missing the huge opportunities in India.
That's happened as a consequence of two things. One is post-COVID, Indians suddenly discovered India as
Yeah.
well. So Indians traveled within India. So occupancy didn't decline, but occupancy picked up and new resorts came up. But Indians also were traveling abroad earlier, and they continue to travel. They will continue to travel. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But we should be able to attract tourists from all over the world into India with the kind of connectivity that we've built up and the kind of airport infrastructure we've built up. We should be able to attract all tourists from Europe and America into India because we've built up very good connectivity now.
Can I give you some of the counter argument? Indians who go abroad always say it's cheaper to go on holiday and abroad because it's too expensive in India, hotels cost too much, airfares are too high. Is that valid?
I don't think that's a valid reason.
No?
For two reasons. One is that hotels have become very, very expensive abroad as well.
Yeah.
If you go there, the upper end of the market, and I don't think India should attract the lower end of the market. India should not be a mass tourism destination. India should attract the rich and famous. It should be a value destination. It should be the upper end of the market. What you should aim is to really provide the unique experience of India, whether it's through your palaces or through Ayurveda. You should get long-staying tourists into India. Never sell India cheap. Sell it expensively, get the right clientele into India. As it is, we have a huge amount of domestic tourists in India. Use that as a springboard to get a lot of high-value tourists into India, and people who spend about 18 to 20 days in India, because India is also a long-haul tourism destination.
One argument is that because hotels are now getting more domestic tourists and business travelers from India than ever before in history, they're quite content with playing to the domestic market. They've lost that impetus to go out and sell India. Is that fair?
That's a very, very, very damaging thing to do because you need to take a long-term perspective. Also, you need to build up new hotels and resorts over a long period of time. Tourism has to constantly grow. You need to ensure that all these chains continue to grow and expand in India. No destination in the world has only grown on the back of domestic tourism.
Yeah.
It's important to get international tourists into India. They are very well-paying tourists abroad. More than that, the word of mouth of foreign tourists, their experiences, your ability to create better products is very important. More than that, today's world is a world of huge experience. It's the experiential tourist who talks about it, who wants to give back something to the destination. And that's very, very important to attract in the long run.
But assume that I was able to wave a magic wand and make you tourism minister tomorrow. What would you do?
Well, I mean, I'm quite contented with where I am right now.
We're talking about the world of magic. Forget about real life.
But what I would really like to do One is to ensure that we are able to create 5 great destinations,
Okay.
create about 6 great circuits, which India has the ability to do, and then promote very vigorously these products abroad, internationally, but also promote and market them to our domestic tourists as well, because you need to build a year-round demand. India can't just be a seasonal destination; it needs to be all round. And you have some very magical products in India. Several states of India, for instance, while we talk about Kerala, I think Karnataka is an amazing destination. It has it has heritage, it has wildlife, it has including backwaters. Similarly, Madhya Pradesh, chasing the monsoon in Orcha and Mandvi can be
beautiful.
really, it's just mind-boggling. So many of these products have not yet been explored actually.
But it's funny that you now have, according to New York Times, the best restaurant in New York is Sema, which is an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
You have you have a 3 Michelin-star Indian restaurant in Dubai. Yet we don't seem to have done that much to attract people on the basis of our food, which is odd, no?
Yeah. So India has produced some of the finest chefs worldwide, some of the most talented ones. The best fine dining Indian restaurants are all abroad. Some of the classiest restaurants are abroad. We've somehow not been able to build the best brand, as the restaurants brands in India. We need many of these chefs who've created magic abroad to create a similar experience in India as well.
But it's odd that many of these guys went from India where they weren't really noticed that much and they shone abroad. So there's some failure on our part.
That's because of the ability when you go abroad to be able to innovate. They've actually, if you look at what they've done much greater level of creativity and innovation to the Indian cuisine in a manner which appeals to the Western clientele. And that kind of has created that extraordinary appeal. And we need to do that
much more in India.
Much more in India.
Okay. Now, there have been many Amitabh Kants. There are many phases. There was the activist IAS officer who, without fear, demolished illegal constructions, acted against people, paid the price. There's been the tourism maestro. There's also been the guy who had a NITI Aayog, who did a lot of work within government, and then with being Sherpa for the G20, a guy with an international outlook. How did all these transitions happen?
Oh, well, it was very fascinating. Actually, for a while, I was the CEO of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, it was a project which we were doing with Japan, and we ended up creating new cities like Shendra, Bitkin, and Dholera in Gujarat. It takes a long while for new areas to develop. But these are extraordinary cities, and if you go to Shendra, Bitkin, Toyota, etc., all investing now in that city. It's a city where almost about 1 million people now started living, a manufacturing city with walk to work, with excellent drainage, sewage, solid waste. So it was a huge learning experience for me in terms of urbanization. And then, the government changed. Prime Minister Modi came in, and one of the first presentations that I made to him, he said, we can't afford to have India as 145th on the ease of doing business. So he said, focus on that. And I worked very hard to remove a number of rules, regulation, procedures, acts. We did the Make in India initiative. We launched the Startup India initiative. Patents used to take an extraordinary long time. Today, you get a patent faster in India than in the United States of America or Japan. All these and we liberalized the foreign direct investment regime as well at that period of time. So many extraordinary things were done during that period. And when I was about to retire from the government, he said, go and join NITI Aayog. So actually, I went and spent about close to 7 years in NITI Aayog. And that again was a fascinating experience, because NITI Aayog cuts across the government. So from education to health to literacy to cutting edge technology to working on the aspirational district program and creating incubation centers and schools many of these things we were able to do, and I think that helped me again greatly to drive the developmental process in India, whether it was building houses or providing pipe to water connection. All these things was again a fascinating experience. And then when I was I had done a long time, so I went to the Prime Minister and requested him that I wanted to work outside the government. When I went to call on him, he said, go and join G20. So I suddenly landed up in the world of international diplomacy. And there were
But
many challenges.
But from being a collector in Calicut and fighting a local mafia to mixing with heads of state at G20 is quite a journey.
Yeah.
How did you make the mental shifts required?
Couple of things. One is there is in government. One is that there is no substitute on whatever job you go to do relentless hard work. Even in G20, for the first 6 months, I had to do relentless hard work to understand how previous G20s had done. What were the positions taken by these people in different uh, conventions across the world. Secondly, I think it's important to build up a very good team of young people. So I built up a very good team. Even NITI Aayog, I brought in this concept of young professionals who were extraordinary. And G20 also had a lot of lively, vibrant young people who worked very, very hard. And third is that I've always believed we're in looking forward, looking ahead, and always think 10 years ahead of your time. I mean, that's critical. So as long as you are progressive and forward-looking, you are able to build a consensus on some of these issues.
But were you not uncomfortable? You went from tourism and local administration to Make in India, to making policy, to creating new cities. That's a huge jump. And NITI Aayog, of course, is like one of the top jobs in the country in terms of determining our future. And then you go into foreign policy, an area you haven't been before. You deal with so many foreign countries. It must require certain mental jumps. So was it all the same to you?
So one basic thing, Veer, is that I've never worked, whether it was God's own country, whether it was Incredible India, whether it was working on the G20, I've never believed in working with either on the concept of the lowest cost. I've believed in getting the finest people to work with, whether it was Piyush Pandey or whether it was the best creative people I've worked with. And secondly, I've never worked with I tried to build up a good team to support you. And as long as you have a good forward-looking team, they will create the magic around you. And second thing is that, your ability to work hard and think ahead of time is very, very critical. So G20 was tough because I was getting into the world of diplomacy.
Right.
And there was also this challenge of Russia-Ukraine crisis. All our ministerials had actually failed. 13 ministerials had failed, and I was getting into the last round of Sherpa meeting with the Prime Minister telling me to get a full consensus. And it was being very, very ambitious. But we negotiated for about 12 days non-stop. On the Russia-Ukraine paragraph on which the United Nations had failed, every other organization had failed. We worked so hard. We worked for about, that one para took us 17 drafts and about 365 hours of non-stop negotiation, but we finally clinched it. And it was very, very tough. It could have gone either way, but we managed it at the nick of the time. After 16 drafts, it failed.
So, listening to you, the things that I notice about your career, one is you're good at working with the politicians, but you're not scared of them. And if you have to take a stand, you will, and you've paid the price. Is that fair?
Well, you should be very honest with politicians. You should be able to tell them.
Do they like it when you?
Some of them like it. Some of them do not like it. I've always had the courage to say what is right in national.
You've had, I mean, we won't take names, but quite celebrated fights with ministers in your ministerial postings, right?
Well, I had challenges. I had a major challenge with the communist regime in Kerala.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
tourism
I
ministry.
suffered as a consequence of
Yeah.
that.
The tourism ministry in Delhi.
Yeah, well, I had a major challenge with Renuka Chaudhary.
That's right.
And in Delhi.
Okay, so you are going to take the. I was going
So
to
I
mention
had
it.
a major challenge.
you did.
And, I mean, I was being asked to do things which were not proper. My officers were being asked to do things which are not proper and which compromised their integrity in some ways. So I took a stand. I suffered as a consequence of that. But that's part of life, and that's part of your long journey.
But you don't think that's one of the problems? Is that so many bright young bureaucrats, after a while, think it's not worth taking a stand because you just keep paying the price?
Well, you build up your credibility in the first few years of your service.
Yeah.
Whether you are a doer, whether you are a deliverer, and whether you have the courage to stand up for what is right. And in the initial few years, I worked for about 4 years with the traditional fishermen of Kerala. And my job was to transform their lives, and I gave them outboard motors, new fishing nets, which are known as disco nets, and I virtually lived with fishermen and slocked with them. I got them the outboard motors so that they could go much further into the sea, got beach auctions introduced, got buses for fisherwomen, and I realized how tough their lives is. Their lives are really, really tough. Because they were getting only 20% of the market price of the fish. We took it to about 80%. But one of the things I learned from them is that you must always have the courage. They go down to the sea with a lot of courage. And you must have that courage to say what is right. And I've always picked up the courage to say what is right, what is correct. Even all my tenures, I've said, sometimes the politicians do not like it. You do it politely, you do it courteously, you do it diplomatically. But when it is not feasible, take a stand. It's important that you take a stand. And I think every IAS officer must be a professional enough to do it in a very polite, courteous manner, but take a firm stand. I've never fought verbally, but I've always taken very firm stands on what is right and what should be done in national interest.
And your career is living proof that you can take a stand and still succeed.
I was also fortunate to work with very good people. I mean, I've worked with Jagmohan, I worked with Ambika Soni. Later in this government, I worked with Nirmala Sitharaman, Arun Jaitley, and I've worked very closely with the Prime Minister of India. And I've had great experiences working with them.
So it is possible.
Yeah, it is.
Even
of
if you
course,
take a stand.
Of course.
The other thing is, you preempted that by telling the story about the fishermen, is that you never seem to have lost sight of the fact that you joined the service to help the poorest and the average citizen of India. You may say get the best and deal with heads of state and tourism, etc. But there's always been that sense in everything you do that you make sure it peters down and helps people at the bottom. Was that conscious or it just came?
So, the greatest satisfaction I've got in this long career of mine was when we did this aspirational district program. And this was when I was CEO of NITI Aayog. We looked at the 115 of the most backward districts of India. We made the presentation to the Prime Minister. He said, don't call them backward, call them Akankshi Jile, means aspirational district. And he also said that the challenge is not about giving money, but about lack of good governance, because nobody works on outcomes in India. And this comprised of about 20% of the most backward districts of India, far-flung districts. We worked really hard on outcomes. We worked on real-time data. We monitored that, and we focused on learning outcomes, health outcomes, nutritional standard. And these districts, because we were putting data out in public domain, we were ranking them, we were naming and shaming the collectors. These districts went on to become some of the best performing districts of India. But by doing the aspirational districts, you were really transforming the lives of poor people in India. And that, to my mind, has given me the greatest, the two jobs where I got the maximum satisfaction in my career was about working with traditional fishermen for 4 years and doing the aspirational district program.
Yeah. When people write about Amitabh Kant, I think they miss that. The fact that throughout your career, you've tried to have people right at the bottom. We just think of you as being at the top, but that's never been accurate.
Yeah.
No?
So, when you do a G20 and achieve consensus, there's a certain glamour attached to it because people view all these big leaders coming for G20. Or when you do Incredible India campaign, they view you as a tourism czar or something. Or you work on Startup India. But, my objective always has been that whatever you do things which are transformational. I've never bothered too much about government files. I've said files are important, but they are a means to an end. The end must be whatever job I've gone, I first defined the outcome that I'm going to transform 1, 2, 3 and taken that big picture. And I've never believed in case by case. I've believed in making policy changes in that sector. And that, to my mind, has been critical.
Okay, so that's another thing. The other thing people say about you is that in almost every job you've had, you've been accessible. Many top people get very remote, but you were always open, even if you had to keep meeting people, your doors were always open. Was that deliberate?
Absolutely deliberate, because I've learned from them. So when I was in the tourism sector, I used to meet every tour operator. I used to meet every hotel owner. I used to meet every general manager, every chef, because I learned enormously from them. When I was in the industries sectors, secretary industries, I met every industrialist. Forget their coming. I used to go for their meetings, and I used to visit many industrial units, and the amount I learned in terms of the vast amount of red tapeism, rules, regulation, procedures, which greatly helped me to eliminate a vast number of them, but by going and interacting with them, so you learn from them. And on every job I've tried to make myself accessible, and I think that has been a great learning process in terms of making radical changes in government.
That's actually one of your trademarks, I always think. The other thing is that bureaucrats, on the whole, find reasons to say no to whatever you go to. You always struck me as being the sort of chap who finds reasons to say yes to make things happen. Is that like a character trait?
Well, I believe that, that's born out of my belief that India can grow and prosper only by believing in free enterprise. The wealth of India will be created by the private sector. India can grow at consistent rate of 9 to 10% over a long period of time. And I'm saying this because there are very few countries in the world who've done that. If you look at Japan, the Japan civil services actually support all the big companies of Japan. The diplomats of Japan speak openly for them. Or Korea or China, all these countries have grown at scorching pace of growth. In India, you can do that only with private sector. So government needs to support that, and government needs to get out of businesses. So I'm a believer in many ways of free enterprise. And I'm a believer that India can grow over a long period of time only with free enterprise.
But it's interesting you should say that, because your reputation is a person who encourages free enterprise, but also as a no bullshit kind of guy, that if you see anything that's illegal, cutting corners, you come down heavily on it. Is that fair?
I do that. I very strongly do that, because you should you do it on trust, you do it on faith. But if somebody misuses it, then you've got to make a big example of that so that others don't do that. Okay. So you come down very strongly when people misuse that freedom given. So you
are. I mean, the minister who used to own a hotel will bear that out. That you didn't take any nonsense.
But you should work on good faith. So I try and encourage as many people.
But that's part of that thing of trying to find a way to say yes.
So look at the Startup India movement, which was launched in 2016, January. We had just about 156 startups then. Today we have over 150,000 startups. We have 150 odd unicorns. We've done remarkably well to push innovation. That's all happened out of trust and faith of encouraging them. One of the things we did was that there will be no Inspector Raj on them. So he said, no, they do not require any factory licenses. And the Prime Minister was very clear, keep them away from any kind of inspections. So we did that actually, and they've lived up to that.
Yeah, it's one of our great
Yeah,
success stories.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that your story tells us is global benchmarking. Don't just be content with looking at what India is doing. Look at what the world has done and learn from it. And don't think of tomorrow, think of 10 years hence, which I think you've already said.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
One of the things which I learned very early was from what Lee Kuan Yew said about Singapore. He said, they call him a great nation builder of Singapore. But he said that I have not done anything new. He said, everything in the world has already been done. What I did was to copy the best, which has already been done, and I improved on that by 10% more and made Singapore the best state in the world. And look at the growth and progress that country has achieved. So my view is that we ideate too much. We need to just look at the best practices in the world, improve on that and implement them in India. And actually every state chief minister should be seeing what is the best practice in the world in terms of whatever it is, drainage, sewage, solid waste, or management of water, or creating new cities, and just replicate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing people say about you is that you're always a person who's optimistic. And I've seen that in the stuff you've said recently. Everybody's been very worried about tariffs and what will happen to India. And you've taken a very different attitude, haven't you?
I think it's a huge opportunity, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Explain that.
Which Trump has given us because India has huge challenges in terms of its lack of ease of doing business. When you go into manufacture, you discover that your energy tariff is 20% more. You discover that you are hindered by the existing factory laws, which have not gone away till now. You discover that your interest rates are high, your GST taxation rates were much higher, and you made yourself uncompetitive in the world. Yeah. This is an opportunity for us to become highly productive in the world. The Prime Minister has done, the Finance Minister and Prime Minister have done remarkable thing in a very quick time to bring GST to just 2 rates. This should push consumption in a very big way, but by pushing consumption, you're pushing demand, and by pushing demand, you're bringing in fresh investments because capacity utilization will go up. But that should be the beginning of a huge round of reforms by eliminating factory laws, labor laws, by improving your cities, because if many of our IT top-class experts have to come back, you need to provide them good quality of life. So cities are going to contribute about 45 to 50% of your GDP. You need to focus on good urbanization, which is a huge opportunity. You need to ensure that your energy sector is highly competitive in the world. We've done several remarkable things in terms of renewable, but the prices of discoms are still high. So you need to make them make them competitive. So there are many number of things you can do. That is what I think it should be, a continuous process of deep radical reforms. Also, I think the government had announced 4 years back that they are going to keep themselves out from most sectors except for strategic sectors. I think we need to accelerate the pace of asset monetization and disinvestment in a big way.
Finally, everybody watching this program is going to ask this question: why didn't you join politics?
I don't think I'm really cut out for politics.
Why?
One is that I speak my mind out. I write. I read. It gives me a lot of more satisfaction. And, I think my value will be much more if I'm able to give good strategic advice to those who want to contribute to nation development, both in the field of climate, to economic development, human development index, as well as to the private sector, which wants to make a difference to India, my role there will be far more significant.
So, how will things ever change if people like you don't join politics?
Well, everyone has to do his bit, and I think I'm contributing very significantly in my own way right now.
And you said that you always think 10 years ahead of
Yeah,
everything you
I
do.
do.
Where is Amitabh Kant 10 years from now?
Well, I'll continue to be a thought leader.
Yeah.
I'll continue to count significantly in terms of making my voice heard. And I'll continue to ensure that India works towards becoming an easier and a simpler destination for people to invest in. And I'll continue to ensure that India evolves as a tourism destination.
That's good news. I hope you keep at it. Amitabh Kant, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vir.